Ch07 F R Leavis by Chan Kim. This theory delves into the thought of a prominent British scholar, F R Leavis, who proposes ideas in the realm of culture. The title of the theory is Mass Civilization and Minority Culture. F R Leavis is a renowned scholar for his outspoken views on popular media and entertainment in the 1930s. Leavis made academic impact with his form of literary criticism, which eventually evolved into cultural studies. Leavis primarily focused on canon of rich and rewarding texts that could be returned to as privileged objects. One noticeable feature is that the meaning of text changed. Originally it meant a medium of something written, but later it meant an object or site of one's analysis. Accordingly, the intention of analysis changed as well. It focused on examining the formal internal features and contextual location. Leavis' aim as a culture academic was to defend culture against anarchy. As a matter of course, Leavis' aim in his journal was to undertake investigation of the contemporary world and engage with the movement of the modern civilization. In Mass Communication and Minority Culture, F R Leavis says that culture belongs to the minority of society, in a way the appreciation of art and literature depends. And that culture is only for a few who are capable of unprompted first-hand judgment. Cultural conservatism then is still kept with a few small minority who are capable of endorsing and appreciating such first-hand judgment by genuine personal response. To this minority of people is where culture lies within, and to this view, Leavis agrees with what Matthew Arnold argued in his book, Culture and Anarchy, which asserted that culture only belongs to the elite of people who appreciate all forms of beauty and art. In another part, Leavis stated that this minority, which preserve the best quality of culture, are capable not only of appreciating great figures in literature and art, such as Dante, Shakespeare, Donne, Hardy, etc., but to recognizing their later successes constitute the consciousness of the race, or of a branch of it at a given time. He adds on that, for such capacity does not merely belong to the isolated aesthetic realm. It implies responsiveness to theory as well as to art, to science and philosophy insofar as these may affect the sense of human situation and the nature of life. Later on, Leavis warns that culture is at crisis today, where all commonplace is more widely accepted than understood. And the realization of what the crisis portends does not seem to be common. He included a work of anthropology called Middletown. In the example of Middletown, where there is in detail how the automobile, to take one instance, has in a few years radically affected religion, broken up the family, and revolutionized social custom, he adds, change has been so catastrophic that the generations find it hard to adjust themselves to each other, and parents are helpless to deal with their children. Which means that this example of Middletown refers to America and not to England, and that it's been recognized that such a rapid change has taken place in America in the last decades, and that its effects have been increased by the acceptance of its people. Yet Leavis warns that the same process is taking place in England too, and that the Western world and hemisphere generally is at an acceleration. With the example of Lord Northcliffe, making the newspaper Daily Mail commonly seen in the third-class section of the train to being commonly witnessed on the first-class section, shows psychologically Gresham law in effect. Lord Northcliffe did not execute his decision of levelling down the quality of the newspaper out of contempt of unintelligent many, but his sympathy with the unintelligent many. Therefore, he appealed to them and increased circulation. By giving the public what it wants, Lord Northcliffe changed the national temperament. Gresham law states that bad money will drive good money out, so bad culture will drive out the good culture. However, in this theory, psychological Gresham law can be applied and be thought of. By presenting the concept of Americanization, Leavis later says that the effect applies even more disastrously to the films because it has so much power and potent influence on the mass, and that the films provide the main form of recreation in the civilized world, in which they involve surrender under conditions of hypnotic receptivity to the cheapest emotion appeals to the more insidious because they are associated with a compellingly vivid illusion of actual life. Leavis argues that the result may come as a serious damage to the standard of living. Not only films, but also, Leavis makes a comment on advertising. Specifically, Leavis focuses on the negative impact of advertising. Since the 1930s, advertising became more sophisticated. With the sophistication, Leavis observes the use of academic research in applied psychology. However, knowledge and skill used to develop advertising could be used to produce contemporary fiction that consists the majority of society, which Leavis deplores. Briefly, Leavis says if it's vain to resist the triumph of machinery, then it is equally vain to console us with the promise of a mass culture that shall be utterly new. It would no doubt be possible to argue that such a mass culture might be better than the culture we're losing. It would be futile. The utterly new surrenders everything that can interest us. Later on, he questions sadly, what hope is there to offer? The vague hope that recovery must come. At the end, he advises that it is for us to be as aware as possible of what is happening, and if we can keep open our communication with the future. Leavis presents his ideology on culture by culture can only be recognized, only appreciated by a small group of people that is referred to as minority. Leavis points out that the culture is at risk today, backing up his opinion with the example of Daily Mail and the example of automobiles being cracked down in Middletown. Leavis expands on his argument on crisis that England and European nations are exposed and drenched in the risk of Americanization, which can not only be decreased in diversity in public sphere, but also yield negative impact on film and advertising. Eventually, Leavis gives his negative view on the future, whilst giving the hint that communication should be open with the future.